Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's December 28th, 2024, which means two things. Christmas has come, Christmas is gone, and 2025 is 4 days away.
Crazy.
Eli, how was your Christmas with your family?
It was a great Christmas. Hope you had a great Christmas as well. And for all those watching, we have a lot to talk
Yeah,
about today. And I can't believe 2025 is just 4 days away.
I know. We're going to do some good things in 2025 with our show. So
Absolutely.
we're excited about that.
Absolutely.
But of course, as you know, we always start our show with the monologue, which is sponsored by Coriano Trucking. And I'm going to give that to my co host to take us into our final show of 2024. Eli,
All
take it
right.
away.
Well, it's crazy. Final show 2024. And today's monologue is going to prove once again that the NFL is the king of Christmas Day. And, well, they just proven it. The Netflix proved to be a fantastic purchase of the NFL. And we saw not one single bad issue throughout the broadcast. Netflix delivered an incredible game broadcast, great announcers, and no interruptions. But you're probably wondering,
Huh?
how did it go so well? And the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight didn't go so well. Well, simple answer is they used CBS and NFL Network's equipment, producers, announcers. Everything was basically CBS and NFL Networks. It just broadcasted on Netflix. That's the key difference. And that's
Right.
what made the Netflix broadcast so successful and such a successful buy. Keep in mind, Netflix purchased the NFL Christmas Day doubleheader games for $150 million only. So that was such a successful buy. And considering their viewership was insane,
Mhm.
24 million views for both games and 27 million viewers peaked during the Beyonce halftime performance, which was quoted as Super Bowl style halftime worthy, which was pretty amazing to see. And she was paid $20 million to do a 13-minute halftime, so that's pretty insane right there.
I'm sure it
However,
was.
on the other hand, the NBA did not do the numbers that they wanted to. However, it was up slightly from last year. 7 million peaked during the Warriors game at 8 o'clock window versus the Lakers. And the opening game with the Knicks Spurs saw 4 million views that include the Disney Dunk the Halls characters game. This is like a disappointment, I think, for the NBA. And the reason why I say it's a disappointment because they were the staple. NBA Christmas, that was always the big staple. And now the
Yep.
NFL has just taken over it. And for 7 million viewers only, that is not good at all. And who knows what's going to happen when it goes eventually to streaming. As we know, Peacock will get it next year. Prime Video will also get something. So we'll see how that factors in. One new thing I want to point out, though, the Disney Dunk the Halls, I was watching that game a little bit on Disney Plus. It was a good concept. It was a great idea. Everything was, I thought, went fantastic. However, the timing was wrong because the game, of course, the Knicks was at 12 o'clock. In West Coast time, that's 9 o'clock. For East Coast time, it's 12 o'clock. And it's either in the middle of lunch or if you're on the West Coast, you're about to open presents, things like that. So I think that was just the timing was wrong and the wrong time to do it. Great concept, wrong day. And that's what took away from that particular event. And this is not the end for Netflix, as we mentioned. The World Cup is coming. WWE Monday Night Raw is coming. So Netflix is on a roll. If they can keep up these successful broadcasts like they did with the NFL Christmas Day, you got a winner for sure with Netflix. And this is just the beginning of streaming. Now, one other note off Netflix and the NBA and Christmas. The NHL Winter Classic, Discover NHL Winter Classic, will be moved to New Year's Eve and no longer New Year's Day. Well, the reason why? Viewership. Viewership has been down for the past couple of years, and college football has a big impact to it. Now, with the new playoff format, 3 games are happening New Year's Day, so no competition. They're putting the one game at Tuesday, 5 o'clock on TNT from Wrigley Field. Blues Blackhawks in Chicago. And keep in mind the other game that will be happening for college football happens at around 7:30, so it will not interfere whatsoever with the college football with the NHL Winter Classic. So that is the reason why. But watch out for the weather; could play a factor into Tuesday's hockey game.
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking about the monologue too, and I was literally on the same thing, and we didn't converse about it prior to, but I could see, LeBron James already came out in
Yeah,
in protest of the NFL taking on the NBA, and you're right, it was always the NBA. And I would love for people to comment or send us an email and say, what did you think about it? Because we all know that when you do the streaming service on Netflix, it's not like you can go back and forth, instantaneously to watch multiple games at the same time.
It's
So,
complicated.
the yeah, and the NFL is not going to back off. This is going to be quite a competition. I talked a little bit more about the NBA not being as exciting early on in the season as um, what I thought was years ago. Don't deny the talent, but you know what? I think they lost that battle, and the NFL is not going to slow down. So you can't go from streaming to regular TV, instantaneously. It takes some time. So that's the frustrating point for Adam Silver in the NBA going
Yeah.
forward.
And I think you brought up a good point, and with the boring part, because I was watching the Warriors game and there was no defense at a point in the first quarter. They were just letting them shoot around like nothing, and that is, I think, what's taken away from traditional good old NBA basketball. Once the NFL ends after the Super Bowl, then the NBA is in its prime. But for right now, the NFL is going to be the king of everything, no matter what sport is on there, including college football. We do have a comment from Diego. He says, "Hi, boys. Good morning, Diego, and thank you for tuning in and watching." Jim, you're still there? Jim? Jim, you're still there?
Diego, thank you. Merry Christmas.
You still there, Jim?
Yeah, he's a loyal listener for sure. So,
You there?
all right, Eli, can you hear me?
Yeah, you've been a little choppy, but you're back on.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Let's just see if we can get through this one without any more technical difficulties. So,
Absolutely.
that being said, let's kind of start off with college football because we got the final 8 teams of the college football playoffs. We could talk about that, but also the fact that there are so many bowl games, and because you only need to win 6 games to get into a bowl. So that's why I can't even think. I reflect back on the days when I was growing up, and some of the great games of in college football history was you had the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, and maybe even the Sun Bowl. Now you have these crazy bowls. I don't even know who these sponsors are and whatnot.
I mean, well,
But
we
I
know
did
Pop
find that,
Tarts. We know Pinstripe.
yeah,
Banmore.
yeah. But there was also one. There's actually a Snoop Dogg Bowl. Did you
Yes.
know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because the Arizona Bowl used to be the Barstool Arizona Bowl. The Barstool, the company, it's almost like an
Barstool
ESPN.
Sports.
Yeah, Barstool Sports. Yeah. But they lost that. They got rid of it, and now it became Snoop Dogg. So instead of taking it to another like media company, it's now the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg Bowl.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of a ton of bowls going on, and I just wanted to
Too
kind
much.
of point out a couple things. Like yesterday, Syracuse won their bowl game, and the Ohio State transfer Kyle McCord had a great season for Syracuse. Actually broke Deshaun Watson's record for most passing yards in ACC history in one season. So that was a big turnaround for Syracuse football. That was great to see. Um, and when we talk about, we see teams like Louisiana or Toledo. These aren't really appealing to the average football fan unless you're an alumni or you have some ties to the school. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to slow down. But I really wanted to focus pretty much on, right. We started with 12. We're down to 4 games, 8 teams left in the college football playoff, which is really what it's all about. So,
Right. And I do want to say, though, back to the opening round games, I think what made the opening round special was home field advantage. And all the home teams took the
yes,
victory in the first round. And I think that was the successful part about it. However, what was the committee thinking with these teams? Because I could tell you, some of these teams should have never been in that playoff format to begin with. I mean, Clemson, put up 24 points, 38 the final with Texas. Tennessee put up 17 points only. Ohio State 42.
Yeah. Thought they'd
I
give
mean,
more of a game too, actually.
there's no game, and I want to know is what is this committee deciding on? Is it because the name and stuff? Is that why we're choosing these teams? Like, are we not looking at the strength of schedule and who they played, the scores and stuff like that? How is that not factored into this? Because
Well,
yes,
I think
absolutely
what
factors in,
I
but
think, Eli, what we're finding out, right? This is the first year. So I think this is kind of growing pains. And
a
to your
test run.
point, when you think about it, it would have been great for college football to have Cam Ward and Miami playing in the college football playoffs rather than the Pop Tart Bowl this
Right.
afternoon, because he's a Heisman Trophy finalist. It'd be great for viewership. So I think we talked a little bit about it, that they'll work out those kinks. So teams like Clemson, who really underachieved for a lot of the season, and teams like Miami that with only one loss don't get in. So
Right.
I think we
Because
know that there's some flaws in the system that will need to be worked out.
but that is every year though. I mean, look at last year when we had the normal format before we went to 12 team. We were disappointed because of Florida State. We were disappointed with some type of concept. So at this point, I would just like to know, how are they going to change this? Now it's 12 teams. This is now the third year of complaints. I mean, last year with the regular style format, now with the new one here. How is this going to change? I know it's new, but you can't be having teams like this blow out and say this is your college football playoff format. And I get it, the NFL has these teams too, but the NFL has a different format to it. Like,
Yeah, and when you talk about that, you're right about it. Like I said, there's no perfect system. So there's always going to be guys that, like Alabama and Miami, marquee schools, and they're not in the playoffs. I
right.
get that. But in the
Michigan too.
NFL, it's kind of the same thing. When you look at the NFC West, I mean, they're barely over 500, these teams,
And
but
yet
yet
they're in the playoffs.
but they go to the playoffs, and not only that, they get a home playoff game. So you can
Right.
have a
NFC
team,
South, same thing.
yeah, you can have. That's what I meant, the South. Yeah. So what you're seeing is you're getting a team with 9 and 8 records hosting a team that, like the Packers or the Vikings, who maybe end up being a wild card
13,
if the
right.
Lions win, and they have to play on the road. So it could be a flawed system. You can't make everybody happy, but let's talk about the final 4
Correct.
games of college football playoff. And I'm going to go through the 4 games, and I'll give you my picks, and
I'll get
I'll
mine
be
as well.
interested to hear your picks. And we'd love to hear picks from our loyal listeners who are listening to the show.
Don't forget to comment.
And give us our comments about what you think is wrong with the college football selection process and whatnot. But for now, it is what it is. And there's 8 teams left. And I'm going to start off with Boise State versus Penn State. Now, last week, I wasn't a big believer in Penn State, and they absolutely crushed it last week. So, they have the Heisman Trophy runner-up in Ginty from Boise State, and I'm picking the upset over Penn State. I'm going to go with Boise State over Penn State in the first game. Second game, we got Arizona State, which is a team that, for the most part, I haven't even seen play this year. I don't really know anything about them. They're playing Texas, so you would think Texas should win that game based on the schedule that they had, which was tough. They've been battling some injuries, but they got 2 able-bodied quarterbacks in Ewers, and if he can't go, you got Manning. So I like Texas in that game. And the third game is Oregon, Ohio State. Now, this could be maybe the most intriguing game, maybe the most competitive game. But I've been a big believer of Dan Lanning and Oregon playing the way they've been playing the past couple of seasons. And we looked and saw what Ohio State can be on one Saturday and what they could be on another Saturday. They crushed it against Tennessee last week, but we also have the Michigan game where they lost to a subpar team. So I think Dylan Gabriel is the key. And I think he has played, God, he's played for 3 different schools, and I think he's played maybe more games than any other quarterback in FBS history. So I'm taking the Ducks, and I'm taking the Ducks to go all the way.
I agree with that
And the
one.
final game, and this may come as a surprise, right? Because I took Notre Dame correctly last week over Indiana. So the Cinderella season for the Hoosiers comes to an end. I know that's heartbreaking for listeners like Derek Krug and Tom Pugh, who are Indiana guys. Um, but the fourth game is Georgia Notre Dame. And I know, right? Carson Beck, starting quarterback, is out. But I still believe in Kirby Smart, and I still believe, and I'm not just playing with my heart. I'm playing with my head, and I'm looking for Georgia, in spite of having start this kid, I don't know, Gunner Stafford or whatever his name is, as quarterback. I think they can upset Notre Dame, and there you go.
It looks like we're doing or
Give me
dying
your pick.
together. We do or die together, Jim. I'm going to show the proof. I picked this before. Everything highlighted was exactly what you had, I had, and I highlighted before the show started. Exactly the same. Why Texas?
Wow.
Arizona, I cannot trust them. We've seen a lot about Texas this year. They've been playing a lot of tough games. I have to pick Texas here. Oregon, that is my national championship pick, as you mentioned. You had it as well. Had to be mine too. There's no chance that Ohio State can take Oregon down, but it is a possibility. But I'm going to take Oregon in this one. Penn State, they had an easy game last week, but it's going to be a tough one versus Boise State. Boise State gets the victory. Notre Dame, sorry, Bobby. I know you're a big Notre Dame fan, but unfortunately,
I am too. I am
and
too.
so is sorry to Jim too. But I'm going to
But
go with
this is a
Georgia.
business. You know,
I
this
think
is a
Georgia
business.
is going to be the better team here.
Wow, I didn't think you was going to take Boise State, but great.
Yeah, I mean, I know you can't trust Penn State. I don't think that they're that team. They got lucky the first round. I don't know if they're going to get lucky the second time. They're not home. That's the key difference with this games.
Wow. So and again, this doesn't count into our overall
Or
NFL
NFL
season.
standings. That's a whole different department.
Yeah, which we will get to momentarily as well.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, I do enjoy watching college football. There's always players on some team, and these are going to be the guys that are going to be talked about on draft day and leading up to the draft and so forth. But way too many games.
Yeah.
When you see like Rutgers, yesterday had a big,
They lost.
yeah, they had a big lead going into the fourth quarter, up 17, and Kansas State comes back and beats them. And this is people's jobs are going to be on the line, right? So again, we had another season with Rutgers. I'm not going to hang Schiano. I think, from a recruiting perspective, he's doing his best to get these kids to stay in school. But if you have an opportunity from a Penn State or Ohio State or Rutgers, every day you're going to take the powerhouse schools. But that's why Rutgers hasn't been able to kind of hold their own in the
Right.
Big Ten. So, all right, Eli, the picks are in, so we're good.
Good luck with that.
All right,
Do
so
or die together.
let's move on to the big boy season. Getting down
NFL.
to the last 2 games of the season this
Yep.
weekend. So we'll start out. Interesting thing though. I mean, I hear a lot of talk, Eli. I'd like your take on this because Kansas City is 15-1,
Correct.
right? Clear, but a lot of people say they're 15-1. They're not such a great team when you look at the way that they play, but they get all the calls. And I don't know if this is, I mean, we understand the officiating situation in the NFL is horrendous. And whether it's tied to the DraftKings and the FanDuels and the sports lines, there's just too much incompetence that makes you scratch your head and wonder. But Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, and he's got 3 Super Bowl rings already, and they're 15-1. So until somebody knocks the king off his throne, he still rules the empire, and that's how I feel
And
about
I
Mahomes.
am going to agree with the viewers. The reason why I'm going to agree with the viewers on saying they're not that team, plain and simple, they have not been a team yet by more than 30 points. Every game has been under 30 points for the Kansas City Chiefs when they win these games. The game they
Mhm.
lost to was Buffalo. How are they winning most of these games? The referees help them at the end of the day with these calls, and I'm 100% in favor of that the referees are helping them. And we look at last week's game. They played the Steelers. That was a Steelers team that can't play against good teams very well. They lost to all the good teams in their past matchups. And we
Yeah.
saw that again last week.
Yep.
The Chiefs are going to be a good team. They're somehow going to win the Super Bowl because Because it's the Kansas City Chiefs. As long as Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback and Andy Reid's the head coach, they are going to win football games. As long as the Taylor Swift's there, and as long as if Travis Kelsey's there, they're gonna win these games. It is the
Right.
bottom line. The refs
It's
are
been
gonna help them, and we know by under 30 points, they're gonna somehow win the game, even though it's not the way we want the Chiefs to win. It's just the luck and the way it is.
I know, but you do want to see Patrick Mahomes play on Sundays because he's so
We do.
dynamic. It's so great. So
Andrew says good morning, and good morning to you too, Andrew.
good morning, Andrew. Hope you had a very Merry Christmas with your Met
Yes, indeed.
fan family, and he's still reeling over his Juan Soto signing. I know that. So,
Yeah.
but that's a conversation for another day. So, yeah. So Eli, I mean,
Hot
kind
take
of
on the
take
refs,
us
he
through,
says.
huh?
Hot take on the refs, he says.
Yeah, I know. We can't get away from it. It's
We
just
knew that.
sometimes it just makes you wonder what is really going on.
Well, we know what's going on.
Yeah, I know we do. I know we do. So let's get into our picks for the week.
Okay. And then I'm going to get, well, before we get to the picks, I want to do playoff scenarios first. I want to go through
That's
that.
what I was going to ask
Yeah.
you to do, please.
Yeah. Okay. So the playoff scenarios. Right now, clinched and in for the AFC, the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Texans, the Bills, and the Ravens. They're already clinched and in. In the hunt, the Chargers and the Broncos. On the bubble, Colts, Dolphins, Bengals. I'll get to those scenarios in just a little bit. The NFC side of things, the Lions, the Eagles, the Vikings, the Packers, they're in to the playoffs. In the hunt right now, the Rams, Falcons, and Commanders. Locked in. Chiefs will get the number one seed thanks to their win this week. Steelers will more than likely keep their spot, potentially go down. Texans are going to lock in, stay the way they are. Bills will be the AFC East champions. No question X. They're done there. Here are the playoff scenarios entering this weekend. If the Rams win, they are in. More than likely, Seattle's out. If they lose or tie, it will come down to next week's Seattle versus Rams matchup to decide who goes to the playoffs. That Rams game, by the way, is happening today. We have a triple header on NFL Network
We
for
do.
the football games today.
Yep.
The Eagles, they clinched the NFC East title with a win or a Commanders loss. They need one or the other to make the NFC East title and lock up that position there. The Falcons, they clinched the NFC South title with a win and a Buccaneers loss. Tough ask, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Commanders, they clinch a playoff spot with a win or a Tampa Bay loss. They just need one or the other. So likely we will see Commanders in the playoffs. Detroit, they will get the number one seed in the NFC with a win and a Vikings loss. They need both those things to happen, a Vikings loss and a win. Chargers, they clinch a playoff spot with a win or a Colts and Dolphins loss this weekend. So they need one or both to happen.
Yep.
So they just need a win, bottom line. And Denver, they need a win, and they're heading to the playoffs. Those are your playoff scenarios for this week. And Seattle, keep in mind, are still alive because they won against the Bears on Thursday night, 6-3. It comes down to what the Rams do today versus the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I think you did you mention, but if Cincinnati wins today, they're in.
They're still alive, but they're not officially done and in.
All right. And that would be because I've been on Joe Burrow's bandwagon all year, so it would be a great comeback win.
Right.
The best they could do right now. They're 7-8, so they could be 9-8. But I would love to have Joe Burrow in the playoffs to give him a shot
Right.
at getting back to the Super Bowl because I think he's that
Yes.
kind of talented player. So
Bengals are technically not going to make the playoffs today If they win, it would have to come down to next week. But bottom line is, if the Broncos win, they're in. And if the Chargers win, they're in. And you could say goodbye to the Bengals and the playoff run. So it really does
Yeah.
those games. We'll watch out for those in just a little bit. Other quick notes in the NFL before we get to the picks. Former Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll has expressed interest in taking the Bears coaching job, which is definitely a surprise move. He does want to continue coaching, it appears. Tank Dell's injury, he suffered a big one last week versus the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're watching, ugly and horrible to watch. It's too big of an injury to explain. Dislocated kneecap, torn ACL, and other damages requiring season-ending surgery.
Yeah, this may even be career-ending. That's how severe this
That's
was.
how bad it was. And you couldn't even watch it. That's how bad it was. Deshaun Watson will remain a Cleveland Brown as the organization announced it'll be restructuring his contract, but that does not mean he's out for the Browns. God bless me to say that right now.
What are they thinking? What don't they realize the experiment has failed?
Nope.
Period.
They have not. Bottom line, they have not.
Okay. All right, Eli. So let's jump into our picks for the week here.
And let's take a look at that chart. We gotta look at it, and I'm getting close. Only 3 now. 36-29, 39-26 for Jim. Just almost there. 3 more.
But you came off with a good 4-0 week this week. I mean, I was 3-0, no slouch either. But this is going to come down to the wire. So
2 weeks left.
Next week we're going to have to lay out crowning the pick champion.
Well, we have one more week.
Right?
We have to. Yeah, of course. And we also have to conclude the playoffs too. We can't just end there. We got to include the playoffs.
Oh no, but that won't go into the season category.
That will go to a separate one, of course.
Yeah. All right.
So
there's 2 crowns potentially.
Potentially 2 crowns. I gotta get the main one first. That's more important.
All right. So I'm gonna jump in, and again, Eli and I kind of changed the rules to.
Yes, we did, and I like it.
And I'm not going to say Eli picked some cupcake games last week, but
hey, there's no rule in the book that says we cannot pick cupcake games. You have to do what you do to win the crown, Jim.
All right. I will take this up with the board of directors like the college football playoffs and figure out a better system here.
All right, that's for next year.
All right. So I'm not necessarily picking some cushy games just to pad my lead. So I'm going to go down the list here. And as you mentioned, the Denver Broncos, who, maybe one of the bigger surprises in the league this year, right? Yeah. Sitting with a 9-6 record. And when you look at them and you look at Pittsburgh, right, who's starting to be exposed, right? I was always a Russell Wilson fan, but he's not the player that he once was, and they're not winning the big games that they should. But that's aside. So, first game, Denver at Cincinnati. And I'm gonna stick. I'm sticking with Joe Burrow, and I'm thinking they're gonna beat the Denver Broncos, who have a better record. But it's Joe Burrow versus Bo Nix, and I've been a Bo Nix guy all along. He's had a great season, and great job by Sean Payton turning that franchise around. But I'm gonna take Cincinnati in game 1. And now okay. And it's not necessarily a cupcake game because kind of both teams stink. But the Indianapolis Colts visit the New York Giants, and the Giants situation we've covered it ad nauseum. It's a mess, and I think it's going to continue to be a mess. Whether it's Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco or Eli Weintraub quarterbacking the Indianapolis Colts, they're going to beat the Giants again. Because the Giants will not win a game at home this year. So I'm going against my team, but this is a business, so I'm taking Indianapolis.
All right.
Game 3. Now, this is a very intriguing game and could have serious implications on the playoff picture. It's Green Bay at Minnesota.
Yes.
And, when we talk about surprise teams, Minnesota being 13-2 with Sam Darnold as the quarterback, nobody saw that happen.
No.
But they're playing well, and they're at home this week. And Jordan Love and the Packers got to go into Minnesota. Both teams need the wins because that's going to affect the seedings in the playoffs. But I'm going to take Minnesota. Wow. I've kind of went with them against them the past few weeks, but I'm starting to become a believer that the system that Darnold is playing in is working for him. Like I said, I was never a Sam Darnold guy. I told her he was going to be a bust in New York, but that's New York. A lot of people have busted in New York, but I'm going to take Minnesota in game 3. And yeah, I think this is either the Sunday night or the Monday night game, Eli, Atlanta and Washington.
Sunday night.
Sunday night game. So this is the new era. It's Michael Penix's team going forward. I didn't see whether the Falcons released Kirk Cousins, but they're going to eat a lot of money on this deal. But a lot of people are starting to wonder: is Washington a team to be reckoned with, or have they just won too many miracle finish games? But I'm going to go with Washington and Jaden Daniels over Penix due to his inexperience and the big play capability of Washington. So I'm going to take Washington. So my pick: Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Minnesota, and Washington Commanders. Now,
All
this
right.
is a big week for you, my friend. Get them right.
Big week. So I have to go with the cupcake games, obviously. No, I'm joking. Well, I just want to say this. It's not my game. I'm not picking the Colts for my 4 games, but I want to just say I have in my notes upset Giants with the win over the Colts. Not towards my picks. I'm not picking that towards my picks. But I just want to point that out. I am taking the Giants in the victory here over the Colts.
Hey, feel free to take any game you want. There are no rules.
There are no rules. But these are my 4 games, though. Let's get to real business now. We're going to start off with Cardinals Rams Saturday, 8 o'clock on NFL Network. A fantastic game. The Rams need this more than anything else to make it to the playoffs. The Cardinals, this means absolutely nothing. But for those reasons, Arizona is on the road. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals in the victory here so we can see the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs. So give me Arizona.
Okay.
Jets, Bills, 1 o'clock, CBS. Jets stink. Bills need it. Well, they don't need it. I mean, nothing matters for them, but just give me the Bills. I mean, why not? Just give me the Bills.
I think that's a safe bet.
I think it's a safe one, yeah. Dolphins, Browns, 4:05, CBS. Well, it's my survivor pick of the week. I think it's plain and simple here. Give me Miami for the victory here. And the last one, Detroit at San Francisco. That's not going to be an easy game for Detroit because, again, they do have to travel to San Francisco, even though they're not that team. You know, it's different down there when Detroit plays in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to take Detroit in the victory, so I'm going to go with Detroit. I'm going to go with the Dolphins, the Bills, and the Cardinals for my 4 game picks for the week. Jim, best of luck to you. We'll see what happens next week.
Well, this is going to cause some separation or draws to a week 18 finish, you know?
Oh, well. This is going to be really tight. It's going to come down to week 18,
Eli,
Jim.
You got it. All right. So let's just cover a couple other quick things in Major League Baseball. There was a big signing, a lot of speculation surrounding Corbin Burns and whether the Yankees or the Mets were going to continue this spending spree. But he ends up signing with the Arizona Diamondbacks, 6 years, $210 million. So we're seeing they're still giving out these contracts for $35 million to these pitchers. And I mean, how long is a 6-year deal? That means you're on the hook, just like the Yankees with Rodon and all this kind of stuff. It's a rolling the dice. But Corbin Burns, over the past, I think, 5 seasons, is second in ERA and second in strikeouts. So he's definitely a catch for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And, a couple other minor signings. The Rangers signed Jock Peterson, who hasn't really been the player since he was with the Dodgers. And I don't know how old Andrew McCutchen is, but he signs a contract to stay with Pittsburgh. That's kind of where he came up. Then he bounced around, and he's back with Pittsburgh. So for his final season, they paid him $5 million, which is, I guess, funny to say, chump change in Major League Baseball nowadays. So,
other ones we have Teoscar Hernandez and the Dodgers, 3-year, $66 million deal. Walker Buehler, I think I'm said Buehler. Typo there. Red Sox have agreed on a 1-year, $25 $21.05 million deal. And Sean Manaea and the Mets have agreed to a 3-year, $75 million contract. Now, the other one note I want to bring up is Pete Alonso has turned down a 3-year, $90 million deal with the Mets and is looking for $175 to $200 million. Could he become a New York Yankee? I don't know. There's something telling me if the Mets couldn't give him what he wanted, he's going to go to a good team, and that team could be the New York Yankees because he is a playoff player. I don't know why the Mets don't want him. I don't understand, because when it comes time to the playoffs, he is that person.
But keep in mind the Alonso thing. And when you think about it, 3 years, 30 million a year isn't great for a guy that hits 45 home runs. But I always thought it would be a possibility as well that he could go to the Yankees. But they did sign Paul Goldschmidt, who may have something left in the tank. He's a future Hall of Famer. So I think they signed him to a 1-year deal. But you got to question, he's probably 40 years old. But I thought it was still a real possibility. But if Pete Alonso's looking for $275 million with a 240 lifetime batting average, if you could find it, go sign it, because I don't think that's
going to give it to you.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think he's going to become a New York Yankee. There's just something telling me. I mean, he's a fantastic player in the playoffs. I know the numbers don't show it in the regular season, but when you see him in the playoffs, he is a whole different creature that it's hard to defeat.
Okay. Okay, good on that front. I think you got a little bit of NHL news for us, or no?
Yeah. Let me pull up the graphic there in a second. Hold on. Looking for it. Here
Well,
it is.
I know the Red Wings fired their coach and hired Todd McClellan to take over.
That was the big news there. But you know what the big news is? Devils defeated the Rangers 6-0 on Monday night. That was the big news. 6-0. How does that feel as a New Yorker?
I think it was 5-0. Let's not
5-0. 5-0. Thank you. Sorry about that. 5-0.
But you know, listen, I've conceded your Devils right now are playing
excellent hockey.
Excellent hockey, and the Rangers are not. And there's going to be some last minute trades to try to shake it up and salvage the season. It's just, how far the mighty have fallen scenario. Like, they were just almost unbeatable last year. And, I always said, I thought Barclay Goodrow, letting him walk, he was a big piece of holding that team together. And I think they miss him. So they're cleaning house. They traded their captain, Jacob Trouba. They traded Capo Caco, who was supposed to be one of the next great players for the Rangers, and it just never really panned out. So hockey thing is going, and you mentioned the Winter Classic, which, I don't know. I always kind of enjoyed the fact, because I remember last year wasn't one of the Winter Classics was the Devils Rangers, which
that was the Stadium Series in February, which I was there. That was, like I said, one of my favorite out games I've ever been to. It was outdoors. It was cold. Don't get me wrong. It was freezing, but it was so cool to see MetLife Stadium turn into a hockey arena and like a park setting.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see. And again, it was one of my favorite moments. Jonas Brothers was there. The music was there. Everything was, there's something special about those games. It's just so hard to explain. It's amazing. And that's why I think they had to move the Winter Classic to New Year's Eve for the viewership. And I applaud them for doing that.
Right. So look what's happening. All these leagues are now competing against one another for
it's
the
all
audience
about the viewers. Again, once the NFL is over, then every other sport will be coming its prime. March Madness is at its highlight, and the NHL is in its finest, and the NBA is in its best.
Yes, and I can't wait to, like we said, once we get to the NFL playoffs, there's fewer games, but I do love college basketball so much, and it's starting to get the interdivision games are starting to play, and as we know,
now it's when it heats up.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it, and we're going to cover college basketball more in depth going forward on the show.
Yes, as soon as college football passes on.
Just think of that, Eli. This is our last show from 2024. It's just amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's crazy to think about how
Yeah.
and we're almost going up on 2 years for me being on the show. I would never imagine that, it would be like we went from 1 year. I'm like, wow, it's incredible. And now it's like 2 years. It's amazing.
No,
It's
it's
insane.
the chemistry has been there. That's why we're here, and
Yeah.
the viewership is there. So, good stuff. All right, Eli.
Had to random
Let's
points.
move. Yep, random points. Interesting one, and we talked about.
Sponsored by Lynch Toyota, by the way.
Oh, of
Manchester,
course,
Connecticut.
Lynch Toyota, and happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the Lynch family. And by the way, one of our loyal listeners, James Wall, sent us an email over the holidays expressing his thoughts and prayers for the Lynch family as well as
Yes.
Mike recovers from his injury. All right, so I think we talked about what was it last week? Oh, we talked about like the Vermont team winning the NCAA soccer championship. Well, this was interesting, and this is kind of a surprise to me. Penn State beats Louisville for the women's volleyball championship, and it's the first time that a woman head coach has won a national championship in volleyball for women's team, and I
Wow.
find that incredible to believe. But the story wasn't just that; it was this Katie Shoemaker Cawley. She was the head coach of Penn State, who's been battling cancer all year. So, you want to talk about a feel-good story? That's pretty good, right there.
Absolutely.
She becomes the first woman to win a title, and she does it in a year where she's battling cancer. That's
Incredible.
kind of a Hollywood. That's a Hollywood script right there.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Yep. So, like I said, we guess what we haven't talked about in months because once the majors are over, but the PGA golf season is going to start to heat up. But they always have this PNC championship. It's kind of a father-son thing, and we're watching before our eyes this kid Charlie Woods, son of course, Tiger Woods, got his first hole in one in that tournament. So that was pretty cool to
Wow.
see, right?
Incredible.
Guys play golf their whole life, don't get one, but this kid has the potential to be the real deal. He has a great swing, and he has obviously a great teacher. But that was pretty cool story, I thought. There was speculation surrounding this, which I kind of wrote off as impossible, but Teddy Bridgewater, who just led his high school alma mater to a high school state championship, has been signed coming out of retirement, signed and on the active roster as a backup to Jared Goff in Detroit. How about that?
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a stopgap, but he's only 32 years old. He's been around, and people consider him a good backup. I always said, yeah,
All right.
maybe a backup, but and when we talk about injuries in the NBA, every single play, if a guy falls to the floor, he's writhing in pain on the floor, rolling around like he was shot. But Luka Doncic is hurt.
Yikes.
Again, the guy just puts out so much effort. I don't have a problem with that. Like I watched Ja Morant get knocked down on a screen yesterday. Ja Morant, and he had to leave the game. I'm like, come on,
Wow,
what are
you
we
can't do
doing
that.
here?
No.
Crazy. But
This is the new NBA for you.
Right, but the league needs a guy like Luka Doncic because he's a marquee top 5 player in the league, and so that'll affect ratings because if he's not playing, do you really want to watch the Mavericks? Not me.
No. We do have a comment from Eric. He says, "Happy New Year to all." Happy New Year, Eric. Thank you for tuning in.
He does. He's a regular, and we wish the Tenbrook family from Westchester, Pennsylvania, a very happy New Year coming up too. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for your support, by the way. All right, Eli, I'm sure you got some random points you want to drop on us.
I do have a couple. Well, first off, Sacramento Kings fired head coach Mike Brown earlier this week.
Mike Brown has probably coached 5 teams in this league, and he gets fired wherever he goes. What are they thinking? So when you hire him,
You
it's
can buy
just
your
temporary.
choices.
Yeah. Right.
Over in the WNBA, the Washington Mystics have named Jamil Weidman general manager and Sidney Johnson as head coach. And the last random point I got here is the top 10 most watched networks according to Variety. Jim, do you want to guess which are the top 3 networks according to Variety?
What? They could be cable or regular
Yes,
television?
cable network. Cable network.
I'm going to say Netflix is the number one.
No, cable.
Oh,
Cable network, top 3. What do you think it is? I'll give you the full 10.
what, like ABC or
Yep,
NBC?
like all those. Yep, like all those.
Yeah.
ESPN, all those. What do you think the top 3 is?
I would say NBC.
That's number 2.
Then
CBS.
ABC has to be number 1
No, CBS is number 1. And that's
because of
because
the
the Super
NFL.
Bowl.
That's why.
The Super Bowl. They had it this year.
Okay.
Number 2, NBC because the Olympics. Number 3, ABC. Number 4, Fox. I think number 3 was ABC because the election. They had the debate stuff. They had a lot of
Yeah.
ABC. Number 4 was Fox. Number 5, Fox News. Number 6, ESPN, which came in number 6, shocking enough. Number 7, MSNBC. Number 8, Univision. Number 9, Telemundo. And number 10, Ion made the top 10.
Wow.
That's incredible. And I do got a lot of entertainment notes, which we'll get into next on the entertainment and photo segment sponsored by Vital Selections.
All right, let me go back to this little list of yours here.
Yeah, that's according to Variety.
When you talk about ESPN and they got NFL games, but they're all, Sports Center was always
the
kind
big
of the
marquee
big
event.
But I've been watching it, and it's almost less and less about sports and more about silliness. Like
LeBron James.
We need 15 minutes of Ryan Clark talking about the fashion that athletes wear to games. I mean, what are we talking about here? That's insane.
Not just that. 30 minutes on Aaron Rodgers and LeBron James. Really?
Right, but I don't care what Ja Morant or Anthony Edwards wears to a game. Is that really the sports news we're talking about?
No.
And I get up early in the morning, so I watch the first Sports Center, and I just want to hear the news. Give me the scores. Give me the highlights.
Yeah.
I don't need Ryan
else.
Clark telling me about fashion because that's his niche anyway.
Well, Jeff comments, great show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Yes,
Jeff is a former teammate of mine when we were youngsters, and we got together for the first time in a couple of years yesterday. And Jeff's a really knowledgeable sports guy. We covered a lot of discussion in our lunch yesterday. So, Jeff, thanks for listening. As promised, you did, and I appreciate that.
All right. I do got a lot of entertainment notes.
Okay.
A couple of programming. I'll go first, and then we'll get to Jim. For the next couple of weeks, CBS will air The Price is Right at both 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So if you like The Price is Right and you missed the 11 o'clock show, you can now catch it at 2 o'clock as well. So it's exciting.
Let's first mention that our entertainment section is
sponsored by Vital Selections. Scan the QR code to learn more. Yep. Thursday, ABC debuts Extreme Makeover Home Edition and Season 2 of Only Murders in the Building. So if you like those two shows, well, for Home Makeover Edition is brand new. So if you want to be jealous about the houses, that's where you got to watch. And New Year's, Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest airs on ABC at 8 o'clock. And New Year's Live, Nashville's Big Bash airs at 8 o'clock on CBS. And last year, this will be the last year, by the way, for the current ball in Times Square. It'll be retired. There'll be a new ball coming into place next year. I know I was all confused too. Everyone's like, what just happened? No, there'll be a new ball replacing the current ball at Times Square. The current ball will be moved to the lower floors of the building in a new museum opening very soon.
Oh, that's the old Tiffany glass ball, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, it's a new ball coming in now. That one will be moved downstairs to the lower floors in a new exhibit. So coming soon.
Okay.
And enjoy the New Year's shows. If you stay up and watch till midnight, I don't. And I know, of course, the honeymooners for you, of course. I know right away. I remember from last year. First thing he's going to mention, the honeymooners.
All right. Well, I'm also going to... Boy, that's funny because this is going to come into play when I post our pictures, actually, by the way. But
I saw it already.
So when you get the New Year's Eve, the marathons, there's the Twilight Zone, of course, the Honeymooners, and the Odd Couple. So I know one of our loyal listeners, John DePrecker, is both the Honeymooners and Odd Couple guy. So I don't
Ah.
know which one he's going to be watching more of, but you know which one I'm going to be watching. That's
Oh yes, he ain't gonna watch the New Year's Bowl drop and stuff. He's watching the Honeymooners. Joe.
absolutely. I could care less about the ball drop, to be quite
Me,
honest.
I'm done at 10 o'clock. I'm in bed.
Yeah,
for the ball drop.
I know. Anyway.
Sorry, folks.
All right, so I got a recommendation
Yes.
for, and sometimes we do movies, sometimes we do shows. This week, it's a show. As I started, it's a Netflix series. It kind of came out a couple years, but I didn't know it. But one of my favorite actors is Bryan Cranston, right from Breaking Bad, and he played Tim Watley on Seinfeld and so forth. The guy is just a phenomenal actor. But there's a show he stars in, produced and directed it, called Your Honor. It's really an
Yes.
interesting. Have you
I-
watched it?
My father has, and he loved it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So that's my recommendation.
Your
this
Honor.
week,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear all about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Mhm. All right. Here's some photos for this week.
Okay. Well, listen, I got a chance, as I mentioned last week. I was going to see my nephew play basketball. He did. He made a Steph Curry like 3-pointer in the game, which was awesome. So he's just doing well. And his team is doing well. It's just so fun to watch these young kids. He's going to be 11 in a month or so. But congratulations to him. And there he is. That's the man of the hour, Ralph Cramden, of course. If I'm going to promote the Honeymooners, that's my little Ralph Cramden statue that I have posted in my house.
Before the next picture, I just want to comment with one thing. Before I thought of the Honeymooners, the first thing I thought of is that the cop from Home Alone, the burglar. That was the
In
first
what?
Home Alone 1.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the burglar guy.
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Pesci. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of. And then I was like, why does he have that guy there? It's the first thing I thought of. And then it's like, okay.
No, that's Ralph in his bus uniform.
Yeah, I know. The first thing I thought of was the Home Alone. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched it,
And
so
I
it
think
makes
I
sense.
got one more picture, and
Yeah.
those are the 3 grandkids that had a chance to see on Christmas Day. But they're just wonderful kids, and it's funny, like, because I know you're a big Taylor Swift fan,
No, I'm
but
not.
but but you brought her up today.
But I mean, it's the truth, though. I mean,
But
why they're winning.
It's the first time in 4 weeks you brought up Taylor Swift's name, and
I
put
listen,
me off
not a
guard.
fan. Listen,
But
congratulations, great music and stuff.
there's
But
a
again, not a fan.
there's a video that I had my granddaughter, who's pictured in the picture we just showed, singing a Taylor Swift song. So it was interesting. It was cool.
Okay.
All right, Eli.
Ton of notable passings.
Yeah, and it is. There's some big names on the list this week, and so as we close out 2025, we always see some popular names, and the first that comes to mind was Ricky Henderson. And I mean, I know you didn't get a chance to see him play, but I did. Played for 9 different teams over the course of his career, but he was really an impact all-time steals leader and one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball history. So that's a big loss, big surprise. I didn't know he was ill, but he's stolen over 1,400 bases, which is a record that probably will never be broken. And he was only 65 years old.
Yeah.
And there was one headline, though. He sometimes liked to take days off. So one of them, he always claimed he had a hamstring injury, and the headline in the Post was "Moon over my hammy," which I thought was clever. So
that's clever.
Okay, another one, and this was a guy that I grew up, and if it wasn't for Jack Lambert being one of my favorite linebackers, it was this guy Bill Bergey, who was 79, and he was a first-round pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. Played five years with them, but he made his mark with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was ferocious linebacker, number 66, and he was 79 years old. So that's a big loss for certainly for the Eagles organization. And I always talk about back in the early 70s, they had this Sunoco stamp book, and that's how we got to know all the players.
Right.
And Bill Berge was on the Cincinnati Bengals at the time. So he was the starting linebackers when he came out of college. Big loss, great player. And yeah, this one just came in from last night, and it's kind of sad too, because
Yeah.
I thought this guy was a consummate professional, and especially, he was notable with, football and of course the NCAA tournament and so forth. That's Greg Gumbel, who was 78, lost his battle with cancer. And yes, we know about Brian Gumbel and his successes, but Greg Gumbel was just as successful in the field as his brother. And, I always admired him. I thought he was literally a professional, up and down, and that's a big loss. He was 78 years old.
Yeah. And the other one I had was former interim CEO for the Clippers and businessman Dick Parsons has passed away at the age of 76. He was born in 1948. And Diego comments, Happy New Year, good boys.
Yes, Diego, you too, my friend. Thank you so much. And to everybody, before we sign off, like I said, we always try to start fresh and say we're going to make these resolutions, and the next year is going to be better than the previous year. Well, that's what we hope for everybody. And
Absolutely.
I think about that and all of our loyal listeners, and you and I are going to start to do some more creative things on the show in 2025.
Yes.
So this is going to be a good year for the Sports with Mono and Mono. And Eli, it's like you brought up before. Seems just like yesterday that we embarked on this endeavor, but now we're not too far off.
Coming up to 2 years.
Yeah, it'll be coming up in 2 years in a few months.
I know. And by the way, we are on Instagram. We've been on there for a while. So if you have not followed us on Instagram, scan the QR code to follow us on Instagram. If not, in the description of this video, you could find where you could follow us at for Instagram. So yeah.
Excellent. So Eli, I wish you and your family
everybody
happy New Year. And
same to you,
we'll
Jim.
see you guys. So the first show next week will be
in January.
First show of 2025. It's hard to believe, but
crazy to think.
Everybody be safe out there on New Year's Eve. If you're gonna go be crazy, one of the crazies, and go to Times Square, good luck, because I'll be watching the Honeymooners Marathon.
Good luck, and send us a picture though.
Okay. All right,
Take
Eli,
care, everyone.
Have a good week, buddy. Be good.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.